Peace everyone, Unmask here, and welcome back to the self-portrait live stream. We are down to the last, five days? Something like that? 4 or 5 days now? 3 days? I don't even know. We're at day 28, so we're almost done. And today I'm gonna work on my mouth because it's off. It's off. That's the easiest way to put it. So I'm gonna work on that. And if you guys have any questions for me, don't hesitate to ask. I'm more than happy to take them on. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Hey there, Zanab, Ulrich, Jalma, and Badrea. Hopefully I pronounced that somewhat correctly. Yeah. Let's see. So yesterday I worked on the hair. I got the hair a lot better. I did a little bit of work on my eyebrows and my facial hair. And I even worked on the skin, the nose, and the eyes a little bit. So I did a whole bunch of different stuff yesterday. And today I'm just focusing on my teeth and my lips and smile. It's a little bit off. I need to kind of sharpen this pencil, but I think I can hold off. Everything's really small here, so you'll barely see changes happening because I need to be very delicate. The main problem excuse me, the main problem here with my teeth are that they're too big. A couple of the ones on the side here, they go all the way up to my lip, and that's not the way that they're supposed to be. And if I get my teeth wrong, then my smile's not going to look the way my smile looks. So gotta fix that. Hey there, Sandri, Mika, Gary, Tessa, Suze. Hello. I don't remember seeing you in the live stream before, so welcome. Harmony and Joel, good to see all of you. Thank you so much for coming by and hanging out. Always appreciated. Really is. You guys are the highlight of my day. What's the hardest part making your self-portrait? For me personally, the hardest part is staring at myself for hours and hours and hours. I'm one of those people that even when I go to like the bathroom to wash my hands or something, I avoid eye contact with myself in the mirror. I'm not the biggest fan of looking at myself, so I would say that's the hardest part. I mean, at this stage in my artistic skill, I don't find a lot of things difficult to actually draw or color. There are still challenges, but most of the time the challenge comes from maintaining my patience and taking my time. So the actual techniques, I've pretty much mastered them in a way that it doesn't, I don't struggle with that aspect of the creation. I've done many portraits now with colored pencils, and doing my portrait's not really any different than, if I were to color somebody else, but the hardest part is staring at myself. So no other way of putting it, really. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your dog. I know that can be very difficult. trying to not make the gap in my front teeth wider than I know it is. So that's a little bit of a challenge. I feel like I can't quite get the pencil sharp enough to get that gap right, because I'm not afraid to admit I have a gap in my front teeth. It wasn't always there. I actually broke them apart when I was younger. Well, I didn't like. Well, kind of, yeah. I was at school, and I never had the best friends in school. We always had the kind of friends that would, tease and make fun of you. So that was the kind of friends that I always had. And one day I was at the drinking fountain taking a drink, and I'm trying to remember what grade I was in. I want to say I was actually in kindergarten or first grade or something like that. So I was still younger, but I felt like it set up the precedent for the gap between my teeth. But it had like a curved metal piece and then the little water spout where the water comes out. And a friend like pushed me, or like he went to push my head down into the water as I was drinking, but instead he pushed my teeth onto the metal thing, and it just like wedged itself right in between my two front teeth. I don't recall it hurting like as bad as it sounds like it would hurt or should hurt, but I do remember like my teeth physically being stuck on the metal, because it was just wedged right in between my teeth, and I feel like that probably didn't help the gap between my teeth. But yeah, I've kind of grown to like it. I feel like it's a characteristic of my smile that sets it apart, and my wife likes it, so I like it. So I don't have any. I'm not self-conscious about the gap in my teeth. Could I zoom in a little bit more? Yeah, I can. The problem with like zooming in is that I'm moving the drawing a lot, and so I always have to like look up, because this is where I'm comfortable working, but now I have to move it up here. I always have to check when I'm zoomed in, and I'm not really doing anything that you'll be able to notice, so. I already feel like I've fixed most of the things. It was mainly the size of my teeth. I think that they were a little bit too tall, because I can see my gums more, and so I just need to like make my teeth a tiny bit smaller. Oh, hey there, Gila. Another thing, when you're working with teeth, you have to go dark on the teeth that are farther away from the front, because the shadows, they're not white at all. And Really the only spot that would be white on a tooth is something that's being hit directly by sunlight and or a light source, and so you get that white kind of sparkle. And having that white sparkle is what's going to make the teeth look white. It isn't coloring them white. So just you know, you have to be willing to just color the teeth gray, because teeth are much closer to gray than they are white. And I'm using a pretty dark gray color here, so. You get a lot of drop shadow from the upper lip and all of that, and then you have a bit of the sparkle of white coming in. I don't even have a white pencil. I have a lighter gray color I can use to smooth out the teeth with. Really the only color you need to avoid is like yellow. Like you don't want to turn your teeth yellow to shade them. But gray is a good color. Even like a greenish gray is pretty good. Oh, thank you, Sergio. Yeah, I fixed the facial hair quite a bit yesterday. I need to work on my lips here. They're pretty dark in some areas. I mean, they're pretty purple looking. Let's see, this color here is pretty close to what I need. Making my lips darker kind of worries me a little bit because I don't want it to look like I have lipstick on. But I suppose it's you know, it's all right to go a little bit darker because I can use my lighter colors to, you know, tone it down a little bit. Really what I need to avoid is high saturation. My lips have a purple, mostly a purple color to them, and then because of how ginormous my two front teeth are, I have like I don't know how to call it, you know, the indent of my two front teeth on my bottom lip, and it's really red looking. And it just makes me nervous to draw it. To add that super bright red that I have there. I mean, I know it's there, but I just refuse to put it in. One of the other things that I accidentally messed up on my lips is that I made my bottom lip too thin. I have fairly thick lips, so I need to draw them the right size, after all. Try this color. Another thing you have to avoid on lips that aren't wearing lipstick, and in case you're wondering, mine are not wearing lipstick, is you want to avoid creating a very distinct line that separates the lips from the skin. That can be a little tricky, and essentially you just need to mix, you kind of need to fade the color of the lips into the skin and then the skin into the lips so that you avoid creating a solid line there. Because if you look closely, you know, your lips don't just abruptly stop. They kind of gradually just turn into your skin your skin color on your chin. So that can be another tricky task when it comes to doing lips, getting the transitions correct. Is it the right color? That's not the right color. For anybody that might have missed yesterday's live stream, I have one available spot on Patreon for the student tier. So if you've been, I know there's a few people that have emailed me waiting for a spot to open up. A spot has opened up, so I thought for sure by the time I went to sleep last night, the spot would be gone and no longer available. But it seems the people that were really looking for the spot didn't watch yesterday's live stream, so just letting everyone know that spot is available. And then also, we're starting a new pastel project today on Patreon. I'll be starting that in a few hours. All right, I think I might come back to my lips during the polishing stage, but I like the way that it's looking. I want to try one thing. One thing that's bothering me is this this front tooth here, and I feel like I have like a little bit of black down at the bottom that's blocking the tooth from showing up. It like just touches my bottom lip. So I'm just using my craft knife to try and scrape up some of the pigment there. Here's my white pencil, so maybe I can reshape the bottom edge of that tooth just a little bit. I mean, it's so subtle, it's so small. I don't need it to be white, I just need it to be a gray color, so adding the white over top of the black should give me just enough. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Now I just need to work on the black there a tiny bit. There, I think I fixed it. Yeah, I think I fixed it. What is the new Patreon pastel project? It is a raven. Raven standing on a rock. At this much, how much pressure do I put on the pencils? Barely any at all. When I'm doing like toning, like working on the face, I did a little bit of that yesterday. I am barely touching it at all. Same thing when I worked on the shirt, I added some of the red and the green into the folds, and I just barely touched it. Barely touched the paper. Now I'm going to work on my skin again on the neck. I just want to bring out the shadow a little bit more, and I can do some more toning as well. So right now I am like barely touching the paper. It doesn't take any effort at all to get the color to start showing up. And so, yeah, I'm just barely put any pressure at all. I'm just going to do a little bit of work on my neck here with some of the toning, and then I'm actually going to call it a day early because I have the Patreon live stream in just a couple hours, and so I need to prep for that since it is a new project. It was a little bit easier before because I was already in the middle of a project, so I didn't have to do anything extra. But today I have to do some extra stuff because I don't even have the project on the line art on my pastel mat or my masking film applied or anything like that. So I have a bit of extra work I gotta get done before the Patreon stream. So today's live stream will be a little bit shorter for that reason. But since I've been streaming every day for the past month, I think you can maybe find it in your heart to forgive me. At least I hope so. Alright, I have a whole bunch of red. I'm trying to remember if I used this red on my face. I feel like I used this red, but maybe I used... Oh no, I think I might have used this purple. I think I used this really bold purple color, so that's what I'm going to do. Yep, I am indeed almost done. Almost done with the portrait. I imagine tomorrow I'll work on the arm, and then tomorrow's already Wednesday, so I'll only have Thursday and Friday for the polishing stage. So a little less than what I calculated. I thought for sure I'd have 3 days minimum for polishing. I mean, as I said yesterday, this almost feels like the polishing stage because the differences that I'm making on each part of the drawing is so minimal that it's, you could almost describe it as the polishing stage. And this will actually be only the second time that I've ever shared the polishing of any of my work. The first time was the live stream of the baby raccoon. Besides that, I had never shared this it's almost behind the scenes, because a lot of nearly every video that you've ever seen, when you watch a time lapse, there's always a bit of the time lapse that I don't bother recording, because the changes that I make are so subtle. Hopefully you're able to catch some of the changes that I'm even doing today, because they're so small. Sorry, I just noticed something on this tooth, and it just has a little bit too much white there. That looks better. The polishing stage on skin is really where everything comes together, all the colors come together. The shadows look more alive, and the skin just looks more skin-like. It's my favorite part. Because I mean, who associates this color with my skin tone, for instance? Like, this is about the brightest red that exists in the Prismacolor set of pencils, and I don't think there's too much association between this color and skin, unless you're literally doing bright red lipstick. But as you can see, I've been using this pencil for quite a bit on my skin, and I'm just adding that red hue to the areas of my skin that have more red in them. And essentially I've used kind of a flatter skin tone color, so I used the colors that you would normally associate, like the beige and the browns and the tans and things like that, to build up the values that create the form of my neck and face and everything. And then when you come back with your toning colors, like this red here, you just add everything that the skin is missing with the toning colors. So in my case, I have a lot of oranges and I have a lot of reds in my skin, so this might look pink on camera, but it's more of a fuchsia red. It leans heavier towards red purple, much more than pink. Because here's a red that I have, and then do I have a pink? Here's a pink, kind of pink. No, here's a pink. So here's a pink. So you can see which one it's closer to, simply because of the value of the color. But I would say it's more between red and purple than it is between red and white. Alright, now I think I can add some oranges if I have an orange color anywhere. I know I had a color. I think this was... Is this what I think it is? Not quite. And this one's pretty close. This one might help. That color's a little dark there. Let me try down here. I don't know what I did with that color. I could have sworn I had there's an orange color showing up on the skin of my face, but I don't see it anywhere. Oh well, if I can't find it today, I'll certainly find it tomorrow. This color's pretty good for that. The orange hue, the subtle orangeness to my skin. I have a few mishaps over here, unfortunately, that are not correctable. I have one bit down here where the color almost turned blue. Not sure what happened there, but... And then I have this weird brown spot here that I can't get rid of. So a few unfortunate mishaps that I cannot correct. But hopefully I can smooth the lighter skin out. I would say that's probably one of the more difficult things to do, is where the light sections of the skin, kind of getting those areas looking smoother, because since they're lighter, I just feel like any texture at all will show up a lot more than like the shadows or whatnot. I feel like it's easier to hide the mistakes in the shadows than it is the light areas of the skin. But it's a bit frustrating at times. I have a few colors that I'll use here on the light sections to smooth it out. I'll use, this color has a bit more yellow orange in it, so I'll bring in some of the reds with my light pink color to try to help smooth it out. I'm not sure what happened here on the edge of my neck, but it's a disaster. Honestly, it just looks awful. But at this stage, it's not correctable. So it's just one of the mishaps that occur when you're working on a project. Uncorrectable mistakes, flaws in the paper or something like that. So even as much time as I've spent and the level of patience that I've exerted through this entire project, I still have not been able to complete the project without making incorrectable errors. I wish I had even a fraction of patience. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to share the process and all of my insight, if I can refer to what I offer as insight. Now to tone down some of the yellow, tone down some of the orange hue of my lighter part of the skin, using this kind kind of pink gray. It's not a real saturated pink, so it's only going to bring in a tiny bit of red. And it will just help kind of soften the orange in that color that I was previously using to smooth out this area of the skin. And I'm still just using, you know, a super light pressure. Haven't added any more pressure to it. Trying to get it as smooth as possible, but there's always a little bit of pencil texture left over, no matter how many layers you put on. There's no such thing as a flawless texture with colored pencils. There's always the evidence that it's a colored pencil drawing, no matter how many layers and no matter how you put them on. It's always there. And since you guys are magnified times a million on the camera, you can probably see some of the texture that still exists there. Yeah, you know, I really need to find that orange color. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's tricky. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. It's tricky because it looks so dark. So it had me lost. And this is the orange color. Yeah, there we go. I don't need a lot of it. I just needed some of it. This is one of those colors that it doesn't go on the way the color of the core looks, because the color of the core looks more like orange brown, and it looks rather dark, but the reality is it's actually kind of a bright, super warm orange color. Okie dokie. I think I'm gonna do a really small amount of blending with a super dry brush. I'm gonna clean my brush and make sure I don't have any excess colors in it, especially dark colors. I don't want any dark colors. So I'm just gonna get a little bit, clean the brush out, and then dry it off with my tissue here. Yeah, I have some dark colors in it, so I need to really clean my brush. I think I used it on the shirt a lot, so my brush is quite dirty. Might even need a second tissue. Alright, that should be good. I want to make sure that it's super dry. I don't want my brush wet at all. And I'm just going to come in, start in the light areas, and see if I can't just smooth them out a tiny bit. Especially this transition from that orangey color I just added into the skin. Hopefully I can soften that transition a little bit better. And you can tell my brush is dry because the paper's not changing color. But since it still has like the solvent on it, if I brush it enough, I'll actually brush the pencil pigment away, so I just have to work really delicately. And just then move into the shadow spot, and yeah, I think that's pretty good. I can do a little bit more blending up in the ear. I didn't add as much pigment to the ear in previous layers, so just soften that. And I'm going to soften my facial hair a little bit also, since it's looking a little stiff. So just smoothing out some of that pencil that I added, because I added a lot of individual hairs yesterday when working on my hair and working on my facial hair. So just smooth it out a little bit, and yeah, I think that works. I'm gonna take, I don't really want to use my Prismacolor white. This is where the polychromos white is actually worth having. I think, where's it at? So I'm gonna grab my Prismacolor white, maybe. Teeny tiny pencil. I'm going to sharpen it, so give me 1 second to sharpen this pencil. Alright, I'm going to zoom back out because I feel like I'm just a tiny bit unnecessarily close. Let's get a pencil extender here so I can hold this a little bit softer. Let's just move all these pencils out of my way. So get out of my way, pencils. This is going to be the last thing that I do. I'm just going to bring out some of the highlights, just raise the highlights a little bit on my skin. And I added the pencil extender so that I could hold the pencil further away, so the touch on the paper is even lighter. Because I just want to bring in a little bit of highlight. I don't want to start desaturating my skin too much, because that's what white will obviously do, pull out the color. But this is a great way to start smoothing out the bright part of the skin also. And I might be able to cover up this weird spot on my neck, maybe a little bit. I like to use the polychromos white for this because the polychromos colors are really translucent, and so you have it builds up a lot slower, and it builds up a lot less dramatically also. And since the pencil is more dense, you get a little bit more control in consistency, whereas with the Prismacolors or Luminance white, you get more of a globby, like a globby batch of white across the single pencil stroke. It's a lot less even than the polychromos. So I'll just add a little bit of a highlight on my ear. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and do it here on my cheek like this. There's not a lot of white, and I'll still be coloring my skin some too, so. But I can make the highlight on my cheek just pop a tiny bit. Doesn't take a lot. This will help add some extra dimension to my face. And then I can come back like later on. Like I'll just do an example. So with my Prismacolor white, if there's a little spot that I want to really shine, oh no, I just messed it up. I had a piece of something black, or yeah, I think I had a piece of black on my white. Oh, that's another uncorrectable mistake. I cannot fix that. That will forever be a black mark on my cheek. Fantastic. Yeah, so that was a bad example. Always check the tip of your pencil. I was going to use the white Prismacolor to make the spot show up even more white, but I forgot to check the tip of the pencil, and I had a piece of black on the tip from working on my tooth, and I just smeared a piece of black across my cheek. Yeah, so I'll do more of this during the polishing stage, but yeah, oh man, that's so unfortunate. Like a half a second of not thinking, and I make a ridiculous mistake like that. Yeah, that's not gonna work. That is not gonna come up. And even though I barely pressed at all, there's no going back on that. That mark is on my cheek, and there's nothing I can do about it. Oh gosh, that's so unfortunate. That's the same thing that happened down here. Oh well, we all make mistakes, right? Yeah, I think I will call it a day. Today's just not the day. Today is not the day. Trust me, Tessa, it's not fixable. It's not fixable. You can't undo that. All right. Well, anyway, hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. And hopefully you enjoyed today's live stream. Remember to check the tips of your pencil, especially if you're going into a light area. Make sure there's nothing dark on the tip of your pencil, because you will make a mistake like I just did and you cannot correct it, and yep, that's it. Probably close to 40 some hours of work in this project, and I just made a black stain on the highlight of my cheek. So that will forever be a spot on this self-portrait that I can never fix. So yeah, make sure you check your pencils. Lesson learned. Well, I've learned this lesson many times, so yeah, I knew better than that. But yeah, that's going to be it. I got to get ready for the Patreon live stream, and hopefully that will have a lot less mistakes in it. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I will see you next time. Take care. Peace.